Alright guys, so I'm going to try to do this all in one video. There's a lot to talk about. I just wrote all this down. So we're going to try to go over this. This is everything I can think of, just straight off the top of my head. So when you're starting a lawn care business, there's going to be, I would say, 7 kind of like steps and things that you need to think through prior, okay? Because at some point in this evolution, you're going to have to take care of it. No matter what, you're going to have to take care of it. So we'll start right off the top. Equipment, okay? What kind of equipment you are running and going to be running, okay? So I do not recommend at all going out and dropping 20 grand on a bunch of commercial mowers because, hey, look, I look cool. I got 0 turns, blah, 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 blah. No, you just started a company. You haven't made any money, and now you're going to go $20,000 in debt. It's not a good move, okay? Just being honest with you. It's not a good move, okay? By the way, this video is going to be kind of long, so, you know, get you a monster and something to eat, chill out, hang out for a little bit. Anyways, so the people that are really interested in starting a lawn care business, you're going to watch this through. You might even watch it a couple times. Write stuff down, okay? Because I started my company, Convenient. I started Convenient in 2021. Okay, that's when it was incorporated in Indiana. Okay, that's my home state. That's where I work, all that. Okay, so all the stuff that I've learned in that time, I'm trying to condense down into like a 15-20 minute video. So I'm going to do my best. It might run a little longer. I apologize. Okay, but I'm going to go over as much as possible so that way you guys can get a pretty good idea on what there is to know. Okay, because again, a lot of this stuff isn't just surface level stuff. Like people be like, oh, I'm going to start a lawn care business. I got a push mower. I'm good to go. Right. Maybe, kind of, not really. There's a big difference, I promise. So anyways, we'll get back at it. Equipment. So like what equipment you're going to be running and what equipment you have. Okay, so like mowers, trimmers, blowers, right? That's what everyone thinks of straight off the rip. But here's something else that's going to be important too. When you do lawn care and you're out cutting grass, okay, there's more to lawn care than just mowing, okay? Because you're going to be doing edging, you're going to be trimming, you're going to be, blowing off sidewalks and stuff like that. But also, another part of lawn care is going to be chemical applications, okay? Chemical applications is super important too, and that's in the lawn care kind of jurisdiction, okay? And the other thing is what's almost synonymous for most people I've come to find is when they see lawn care, they think of landscaping too, okay? So if you're going to be willing to do some landscaping, then you can be a lawn and landscaping company, okay? But just keep in mind that, when you start getting crazy with all your different services, what's going to end up happening is you're going to end up spending a whole lot of energy doing all sorts of other things rather than trying to grow what you really started this for. So in the very beginning, if it was me and I had to like start all this stuff over again, I would primarily focus on lawn care. Okay. Now, most people are going to tell you the other way. They say, oh, focus on landscaping. There's more money in landscaping. You're right. Okay. The money per job with landscaping is so much higher. All right. Because say you're going to be doing river rock or something like that. I mean, like locally, you're paying like 60, 70, all the way up to $100 a ton for river rock. You're going to be putting a more margin on top of that. You're going to be selling that to a customer at so many tons, and I would say you're probably at a minimum, you're going to be putting 3 or 4 tons in, and that's pretty small beds, like 3 inches. So, yeah, there's going to be more money in it. You're going to be able to do 12, 15, $2,000 jobs, and if you're doing it right, 30 or 40% of it's going to be profit off the top. So is there going to be more money in it? Yes, but it also requires more, okay? You're going to have more equipment. If you're going to be doing river rock, hey, guess what? Now you're going to need to have shovels, you're going to need to have wheelbarrows, you're going to need to have all sorts of other stuff, which isn't expensive, but when you need 30 different other pieces of, tools and wheelbarrows and stuff to be able to move the material back and forth, guess what? You're spending a lot of money and it's nickel and diming you, okay? So my recommendation is that you focus on the lawn care side of it, the mowing side of it, because mowing is recurring, okay? With landscaping jobs, you got to keep going out and getting them and finding them and all this other stuff. So if you're primarily focusing on that, be ready to hustle. You're going to be hustling. You're going to be talking to people. You're going to be trying to sell these landscaping jobs all the time. Okay, with recurring, you're going to the same people every single week. You're going back out there. Are they lower ticket jobs? Yeah, of course they are. But it's also a lower barrier to entry, okay? And if you're looking at doing lawn care, there's usually one reason, and it's because the barrier to entry with lawn care is so stinking low, okay? It's like, it barely costs anything, okay? $300-$400 push mower, $100 trimmer, $200 blower. Like, you're in it for nothing, okay? In the grand scheme of things, you're in it for nothing, and you could go out there and start cutting grass. Okay, anyways, so again, there's a big distinction between lawn care and landscaping. I think everyone that's going to start a company needs to understand in the very beginning. Primarily focus on the lawn care. Once you get established, and if you want to start incorporating some landscaping jobs in there, that's fine. By all means, it's your business. Do whatever you want. But my recommendation is going to be stick with the lawn care for a little bit, really explore that route, and just keep focusing on getting more weekly clients, because that money is just going to keep coming in, right? It's just going to keep coming in all season, and that's one thing you just don't have to worry about, okay? So equipment's going to be a big important thing. Don't go out and just drop a whole bunch of money straight off the rip, trying to, catch up, keep up with the Jones. Don't do any of that, okay? Just use what you have, use what you can afford, okay? Pretend like it's stocks, okay? Like, only spend the money you can afford to completely lose on starting this, okay? That's going to be my advice, because I'm telling you, it's the smallest fraction of people that ever start a company are able to actually continue on for more than 2-3 years. There's legit statistics on it. I don't know the numbers, so I'm not going to throw it out there, but it's a fraction of a fraction, okay? So focus on getting your equipment. Spend as little as you can, okay? Because the goal with the company is to make money, okay? Once you get up to the point, and which I'll talk about this later, once you get up to a certain point, then you can go ahead and start reinvesting and trying to push more money into it. So that way you can go faster. But don't do it straight off the rip, okay? Then the second thing is going to be transportation. So some of you guys might have a dad or a grandpa or an uncle or something like that that's going to loan you a zero turn. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend borrowing tools, especially expensive tools, because if you break it in the beginning, there's going to be a decent amount of money that you're going to be tossing into that. And, the more complicated something is, the more expensive and time consuming it is to generally fix it. But transportation is going to be very important, okay? If you decide straight off the rip, hey, I'm going to get me a riding mower or a zero turn or, walk behind or, whatever, you're going to need a trailer. I mean, you might be able to get away with a flatbed truck and some ramps. It is sketchy, but it can be done. You might be able to get away doing that, but eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to want just a trailer, okay? So transportation is going to be important. If you're starting this and all you have is a car, right, you're not going to be getting a zero turn in and out of there comfortably to be able to do as many yards as you're going to need to do, okay? because you're going to need to do a decent amount of yards, and you're going to be going back and forth, back and forth. The whole point of this is how quick can we get all this stuff done, still hold up a level of quality, the level of quality that we're selling to a customer. That's going to be the important part. So your transportation is going to be really important. You can pull a trailer, especially some of the small trailers, like when you're first starting off. A little 5x8 will probably do you fine. Stay away from the Tractor Supply stuff. I would stay away from those. If it was me, I would stay away from those. I would prefer to buy a heavier duty, like a better brand trailer that's used over buying a new one from like Tractor Supply, because they're just not great. Same with the Harbor Freight ones. They're not great. Like, you're going to be taking and putting a lot of money into one of these trailers before you ever like get a decent life out of them. So I wouldn't mess around with going the like new trailer but cheap route. If you're gonna go new trailer, buy a good trailer, right? Because at the end of the day, you can always sell a trailer. Everyone always is looking for a trailer. But here's the thing: SUVs and trucks, you could pull a trailer with, no problem. Some of the smaller cars, you might be able to get away with it, but then you're going to start running into transmission problems. Especially you start pulling around like zero turns and stuff. Not that they weigh a lot, it's just you got to think the weight of the trailer, the weight of all your blowers, the weight of your fuel, plus the weight of people and all that. Like, it adds up really quick. You could totally get away with a half-ton truck. Like, if you got a decent half-ton truck, you could get away with that. No problem. Absolutely no problem. Some guys will tell you, you need a 3/4 ton or you need a 1 ton. No, you do not. Okay? Especially if you're just getting started, you do not need a 3/4 ton or a 1 ton truck. Now, if you're trying to do hardscaping, then yeah, look into like a 1 ton. Okay? But then again, if you're trying to do hardscaping, why are you watching how to start a lawn care business? Okay? Like, go watch how to start a hardscaping business, okay? Don't say, oh, I'm a learn. No. Don't do that. Okay, so again, transportation is going to be important, and there's another important thing that goes along that too, is commercial insurance, okay? I'm going to teach you guys something, all right? You got Billy Joe. He's driving down the road. He started his lawn care business. He's been at it for months now. He's been making a little bit of money. He picked up a cheap zero turn on Facebook Marketplace for next to nothing. And he's going down the road in his half-ton pickup truck with a little 5x10 trailer and his zero turn, his blowers and all that. Well, somebody pulls out in front of him. Say, Miss Sue pulls out in front of him. He T-bones her. Okay? He T-bones her. Well, he's got insurance. So he's like, okay, whatever, we'll just go and file this with insurance. So, anyways, in the police report, it says a lawn care trailer and truck hit Miss Sue. Okay, now all of a sudden, his insurance says, we're not covering that because you're operating commercially and all you have is a personal insurance policy. Okay, I promise you, they will not cover that. You will be paying out of pocket for the entire thing. And your insurance will drop you and you will be screwed. Okay? So if you're going to be doing this, don't gamble. Do not gamble on this stuff. Okay? Just don't do it. Commercial insurance doesn't cost hardly anything. Especially when you're just getting started out. Dude, you got one truck. You got a trailer. Get it covered. It's like $160 a month. And if something happens, you also got theft and you got all sorts of other stuff that's underneath that. Yeah, dude. Just get the commercial insurance. Then once you get a wrap, it's no big deal. Because once you put a wrap or any kind of identifying stuff on there, you have to have commercial insurance at that point. You have to. So I recommend definitely, if you're going to be doing this and you're really serious about this, look into commercial insurance and don't go with one of these online companies. Find an actual insurance guy, okay? Find a guy. You'll have his number. If something happens, you can call the guy and you can say, hey, guy, you've had me for my insurance for so many years now. I have a problem. And it's an actual person you can talk to. You're not getting on an app and saying, I got into an accident. It's no good. No, don't do that. Okay, serious. Do not do that. Find a person. You'll get a cheaper price. They'll figure out what you need and what you don't and go from there. Okay, that's it. Anyways, all right, so now we've covered equipment transportation. We'll go ahead and go on to client acquisition. Okay, what client acquisition means pretty much is getting customers. Okay, you're going to want to get customers. Okay, and that's the problem that so many people run into. Well, how do I get customers? Like, I got a lawnmower, I got a trimmer, maybe I've cut my grandma's grass, or maybe I've cut my cousins or uncles or whatever, right? But how do I get like actual people, like people I don't know, strangers? How do I get them to give me money to cut their grass? Okay. Well, I found there's a few things that work pretty good. Okay. A lot of people online, they're going to tell you, oh, you got to build a brand. You got to build a brand. Everyone will know your brand. No. Okay. All they got to know is you. And when you're starting off, that's the most important thing. Okay. This brand doesn't mean nothing unless I'm wearing it. Okay. Because people know me. They don't really know this. Okay. And sure, like if I was trying to build a multinational company, that's a big problem. Okay. Well, guess what? I'm not. Like, I'm just trying to cut the grass and get paid, do a good job, okay? Because every single time that you do some kind of work for somebody, like, that should be your presentation of how good of work you do, okay? When people see that you're doing this level of quality, okay, they should go, wow, these guys do a really good job, and they see it week after week after week after week, and they go, well, you know what? These guys are local. They do a good job. I see them all the time doing fantastic work. I guess I'm going to hire them. Okay? And that is how you get the best customers. Plain and simple, that is how you get the best customers. But I have a couple different options down here. Door hangers, that's what everyone talks about. They work if you're just getting started, but it's so time consuming. It is so time consuming. I'm telling you, like, you'll get, like, we did a big one. We did like 4,000 of them. Okay. And here's the other thing you got to check into is some places, some municipalities will say, you have to have a solicitor's permit to be able to go and hang these up. Even though you're not knocking on any doors, you're not talking to anybody, like, you're not going out of your way to interrupt somebody's day and solicit. Okay. Just you putting these up, you're going to want a solicitor's permit, at least in my area. And so I have a standing solicitor's permit for my area, right? And it depends on your towns too, because most of the time it's enforced by the town, not so much the county. So you need to be aware of that, because like, for instance, I had one guy that was absolutely so pissed off that I would not accommodate his specific days that he wanted me to come out and cut his grass. Okay. And he wanted to do it bi-weekly, and then now I want it on these particular days, and da 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 da, and I want it for this price. And do not let a customer dictate when you're going to show up and do the service and how much you're going to pay and all that. They don't walk into Walmart and say, well, I want this Xbox, but I am only going to pay $400 and I want it in 45 seconds. No one does that. Okay? They see, oh, this Xbox costs $750. Well, I want the Xbox, so I guess I'm going to go pay the $750. Okay? Don't get bullied by customers, because I'm telling you, there is some of them out there that are going to try to bully you into your price, dropping your price and accommodating this and that. And I promise you, that one customer that you're trying so hard to keep because, I need the money. Okay, they're going to be the biggest headache of your life. They will cause nothing but problems. When it comes time, they'll say, oh, well, if you do a good job and you do it cheap enough, I got a bunch of other work and blah, 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 blah. Bull. That is absolutely bull. Okay. 9 times out of 10, you get one of those customers, and it's gonna be, you do the work for them, and then it is hell trying to get paid. You won't get paid, and you'll run into other problems, and there will be excuses, and blah 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 blah. Okay, don't do it. The more professional that you seem from the rip, okay, the less of a chance that they're gonna try and do anything. Okay, if that makes any sense, because realistically, um, there's those people out there. I've run into plenty of them. You start learning the kind of like red flags of one of those customers. You start learning them, and you go, and you can pick it up from the estimate. You can pick it up from the estimate. And you go, yeah, I know what kind of person you are. Unfortunately, we're not servicing your area anymore. It's like one of those deals where it's important that you establish those kind of ground rules. Okay, so like we only do weekly. I'm not doing bi-weekly. I'm not doing any of that. Like I'll lose customers over. I have lost plenty of customers over not doing bi-weekly. I don't care. I'm not going to do bi-weekly. There's no point in me putting extra wear and tear on my mowers, and then every single time somebody wants bi-weekly, it's because they expect, oh, this weekly price that you gave me, we could do that, but it's going to be bi-weekly. So now you're doing double the work that you would normally be doing for the same price. Okay. And customers, man, they eat that up. They love that. They always, oh my God, they're always trying to push that. And then I tell them, well, the bi-weekly price is this much. And it's always going to be more than the weekly price. Just plain and simple. Because when it comes time for like early spring, when you get all that rain and everything is just growing so fast, and like really the grass should be getting cut every 3 to 4 days, but now you're stretching out to 14 days between services. No, I'm not coming and cutting down a foot of grass and leaving it where it looks absolutely terrible, because there's nothing you could do. You could sit there and bag it and everything, but now you're taking a trailer full of grass clippings per lawn, when you could just come in, cut every single week, every 7 days, and there you go. It's the most practical, and it's the most efficient means of doing some type of service schedule. So that's another thing to keep in mind, guys. But yeah, so like door hangers are, that's one thing. The actual number that most people give for door hangers is 1% ROI. So they're not fantastic by any means. Like if you go out and put 100 of them out, you are only going to get one person, and I found that to be true. So that's not my primary thing. The thing that my company uses is word of mouth, right? And as you get established, like it comes with time. Okay, it does. It comes with time. Like in the very beginning, you might have a couple people that are vouching for you and everything, and you'll pick up a couple jobs from that. Okay, but eventually it gets to the point where you've worked with 1,000 people, and you'll have half of those people that, if someone ever brings up lawn care, boom, you're the guy that they immediately think of, and they throw your name out there, right? And that's how, if you need more customers, that's going to be the best way, because the people that you've worked with and you've had a good experience with, they tend to be friends with people that are also similar to them. They're kind of, level-headed people. And if you only do work for, kind of shitball people, then guess what? When they do word of mouth, guess who else you're going to be getting with? Other shitball people. So just don't work for them. Just do not work for them. I'm telling you, like that. If there's one thing that you take away from this entire video, is like, if you have that gut feeling that this person is not going to be a good customer, I'm not saying that they're a bad person in real life, but just if they're not going to be a good customer, don't work for them. Don't work for them. If you have that gut feeling and you just can't shake it, don't work for them, because there will just be nothing but problems, and there's nothing good that can come from, dealing with somebody like that. Anyways, business cards, that would be like my number 2 thing. If, get the equipment down and all that, and like get to the point where you have the ability to get out, cut people's grass, drive out to customers and stuff like that. Business cards would be my number 2. Okay. For like younger people, they don't really care about business cards as much. Like they mostly care about social media. But I would say 80% of people that you work with, business cards is going to be super important. Okay. Business cards are like, I don't even know how to explain it. They're just so important, okay? And they're cheap. Like it costs nothing to get a bunch of business cards made up. And it's a way of, flipping that out. Most places, if you need to create like a commercial account with them, they're going to ask for a business card. Like the business card adds like validity in most people's eyes to your company. And they're cheap, okay? Like you can go somewhere local and have it made. I know like Staples, they'll make them for next to nothing. Okay, you can have them ordered in online for next to nothing. They're they're a great route. I highly recommend, and spend some time on those business cards because you're gonna have them for the next year or two. Like you'll order in 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever. You're gonna have them for a while. So don't be afraid to just toss them out there. You meet somebody, flip them a card. You meet somebody, flip them a card. Blah blah blah. Okay, business cards are going to be super important. Then you're also going to have Facebook groups. Okay, so like your local town groups, local like neighborhoods, stuff like that. Like your Facebook groups, you can get a decent amount of work out of, and like it's hit or miss on whether or not the work is going to be like super great, and because you don't really have much of a way of like filtering out bad people and good people. But the Facebook groups it's gonna be a really good thing to have. I promise you that. So definitely join those. Start throwing your business out there. Start a Facebook page for your business, and just start posting pictures on there, right? And you can use that as like a catalog almost. So anytime that you do some work, get some good before pictures, get some good after pictures, post them on that Facebook, right? Or Instagram or whatever. It doesn't matter. But when people want to see the kind of work that you do, then you could just show them. Like you have all these pictures right here on this Facebook. And then you could just be like, well, look, this is a mulch job that we did. This is some other lawns that we've cut. Look how good it is. Like we get in there and we pull the weeds out of the flower beds and blah 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 blah. Like social media is slowly becoming the way, and if you aren't on board with that, the business will die, and it's becoming more and more important. Okay, so I'm just throwing that out there. Friends and family also for getting clients. If you do good work over time, a lot of your family will be like, okay, this guy does good work. He does this full time. Like, he must know something, and they'll start throwing your name out there. Okay, my mom, she gets on Facebook and anytime someone's like, I need lawn care and blah blah blah, city, state, blah 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 blah, right? She's like, boom, Mo Convenient, Mo Convenient, Mo Convenient, like throwing that company out there, and so like that's so important, when people just constantly are seeing your business in there, like it gets to a point where people go, well, there you go. And especially with lawn care, it's so oversaturated. Like everyone and their brother does lawn care. So any way that you can get in front of somebody is going to be really important. But again, that's where word of mouth comes in, so big. And then the other thing is a website. So I would say a website is probably, this is more later stage, right? But my website has generated more clients and more traffic for me than I would say anything really has. So we've done Facebook advertising, I've done Google advertising, I've done all that. And my website is like the one thing that brings in more customers than anything. So if you can use paid advertisements to help bring people into your website, and you have a good system on your website to funnel clients in, then I would say, yeah, you could go with the paid advertisement, but I would focus on getting the website first. I would totally focus on getting the website dialed in, get it to where every single page links back to some way of drawing the customers in, right? That's going to be important. And then we'll get into our formalities. I'm going to take a drink real quick. So our formalities are going to be big. Okay. Once you run a company for so long, right, you're going to have a couple choices. When you just run a company, you're running under your name. Even if you say you're, blah, 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 Joe's Lawn Care. Okay, you're still technically running under your name. You're not running under Joe's, and I'm talking like formally, like taxes and stuff like that. Okay, you're running under you. Now, you can file for an LLC, or there's also an S Corp. Again, I'm not a tax guy, but just from what I kind of know, wait to do S Corp until you're making, I would say, probably over 6 figures a year. You could switch over to S Corp pretty much at any point in time, but from my understanding, the importance of an S Corp, and I would find somebody that, knows more if you're at that point. But the importance of an S Corp is that you can actually put yourself on payroll, okay? Which that does end up being pretty important in time, especially if you need to do if you're trying to buy a house, personally, you're trying to buy a house, or you want a loan on a vehicle, like having just a pay stub that you could just be like, yep, here's my pay stub, like that simplifies the entire process. When you're an LLC and this is your only form of income, you're just by yourself, which you will be in the beginning, I'd probably stay away from hiring anybody. But the big thing is going to be when you're an LLC, you're a single member LLC. Okay, so all that means is that it's you. Technically, the entity is separate from you, but you're still going to take and file all this onto your personal tax returns as a single member LLC. If it's like a partnership deal or something like that, then all that changes, like the tax and stuff, everything changes. So do keep that in mind, because as you go on, you're going to need to formalize all this, and I highly recommend it because, if you get sued and you don't have an LLC or an S Corp or something like that, right, and a client decides that they're going to put a lawsuit on you, if you own a house or you own a vehicle or anything that you privately own is fair game if you don't have some way of separating the business work that you do from yourself. So it's all fair game in the lawsuit. And I promise you, they will go after that, okay? Because if they're already suing you, then they're coming after some money. So do keep that in mind. Check into your state's filing and how to do it. A lot of times you can work directly with the state to do your filing. If it's something more complicated than a single member LLC, I would highly recommend that you find someone that you can go and talk to face to face that can help you formalize all this and draft up any paperwork that needs to be done. Okay, that's going to be really important. Now, after you get your LLC or S Corp or however you decide to go, you're going to file with the IRS. You're going to get an EIN number, okay? That's an employer identification number. That is like your business's social security number, okay? That's a super important thing. That's how you go in and you get your business bank account, okay? Which is also going to be really important. So get your EIN after filing for an LLC, and then you're going to go in and you're going to get your business bank account, okay? So you're going to take your EIN number and you're going to take your articles of incorporation or articles of organization, whichever specific title it is. But anyways, the paperwork that you get from filing an LLC, you're going to actually take and go to your preferred bank and start a business bank account, okay? Now, anything like income-wise that runs through the company needs to go in and out of this business bank account. Don't go, oh, well, I'm gonna take my girlfriend out for dinner and buy the dinner with the business debit card. Don't do that, okay? because then you're doing this thing called piercing the corporate veil. All right. And then again, the whole reason that we do an LLC is to protect our personal belongings from being fair game in a lawsuit under a company. And so if you're piercing the corporate veil with your business bank account, then it all gets muddled and they say, okay, well, guess what? It's fair game, right? So don't do that. If you need money and you got money in your business bank account, but you need money personally, transfer it to your personal bank account. Don't live out of the business bank account, okay? Just do, ETFs or ACH or Zelle. It doesn't matter. Just take the money from the business account and bring it over to your account, and it's called an owner draw, okay? So do that. And then liability insurance is going to be really important too. Again, going back to the commercial insurance side of things, a lot of times you can get this all under one policy. So if you got a good insurance guy, you're going to have, so much of a liability insurance. And then for an extra, like for me, for example, for an extra, not even $100 a month, I'm able to get commercial insurance on trucks. On top of my GL policy. But that's going to be important. General liability insurance. I don't think you really need to go for the umbrella stuff. Umbrella just pretty much adds an additional sum of money to it. I would just go 1, 2, maybe even 3 million on your general liability and go over as much as possible. Okay, learn about that policy, read through the paperwork, do all that. And if there's something in there that you don't like, talk with your insurance guy, have it changed, have it amended. Do that straight from the rip, okay? Read, seriously. Because sometimes they won't cover you for things that you should be covered for, okay? Like, for instance, trailers. Here's a little tidbit, okay? You think, oh, well, guess what? I have commercial insurance on my truck. That means my trailer's covered. Well, if that trailer ever unhooks from your truck, okay, and it hits a vehicle after it's unhooked from your truck, or there's any damage and it's not hooked up to your truck, that trailer is now technically separate of the truck and is no longer covered by your insurance. Okay? So I've seen somebody come across the intersection that had a bunch of bumps and dips and stuff, and their little enclosed trailer jumped off the truck, okay? And it rolled right past the truck that was pulling it. Just went right past it. Now, luckily, there wasn't any vehicles in the way. It rolled across the road and down into the ditch, and it stayed down into the ditch. It didn't hit any cars. But in that instance, if that trailer would have hit a vehicle, that guy would have been paying out of pocket because his insurance does not cover a trailer that has come disattached from the vehicle. That also includes if the trailer is just sitting somewhere, right? It doesn't cover that either. You have to have a separate policy. The trailer has to be named separate on the policy in order to have coverage. And the same goes with like mowers and stuff like that. Now, you can have hand tool coverage where you could cover your shovels and rakes and all sorts of other stuff, right? And it's whatever. But what I would highly recommend that you do is have all of your equipment that you normally use. If it's expensive, have all that equipment covered, because you can have it covered for theft. If someone takes your trailer, right, and you have all your equipment on it, like, that would suck. Like, that would suck, man. You're gonna have pissed off customers. You're missing just thousands of dollars in equipment, and it's all gone, and there's no like real good way of tracking it. So have coverage on all that equipment and only use it if everything gets stolen. Okay? If you get a weed eater stolen or whatever, like, don't file a policy for a $400 weed eater. Just go buy another weed eater. Like, the policy's going to go up probably $200 a month once there's a theft on it. So just spend the money out of pocket and deal with it. Okay? But if your entire trailer gets stolen, and you lose 1, 2, 3 mowers and a bunch of trimmers and a bunch of, and it's pretty much back to square one, then you can do a police report, file for theft, put it under insurance as a claim. And now, whatever the appraised value of all that was, which is predetermined when you set up your policy, they will actually go ahead and reimburse you for that under the theft side. And then you now have at least some money where you can go back out, try to get a trailer, try to get another mower, like try to get all this stuff before you got to get back out there and cut more grass, And so that can save your butt. That can absolutely save your butt in the grand scheme of things. So I highly recommend that you do that. Now this video is running along for a while, so again, I apologize, but this is going to be packed with information. And then the name of your company is also going to be really important. Honestly, this is probably something that you should try to focus on early game, is get the name of your company down. I was recommended when I first started this, don't put your last name or anything like that. Now, it sounds more small businessy to have your last name in it. Like my last name's Phelps, so like Phelps Lawn Care sounds like more small businessy, which some people like that, right? Now, I did Mo Convenient because, one, I thought it was really funny, right? Because we're Mo Convenient. Anyways, that was actually a buddy of mine. He said, yeah, you guys are. He said he was trying to say you're more convenient, but it sounded like Mo Convenient, and I was like, that's hilarious. And so I just kind of like went with it, and I kind of riffed on it. But anyways, so that's how the name of my company came about. I would recommend that you keep your name out of it, just because. One, again, you're trying to create a distinction between your company and yourself. So the more of a distinction you can create between your personal life and your business life, the better that's going to be, especially if there was a lawsuit or anything like that. Again, all you're trying to do is your CYA, okay? Cover your ass. That's all you're trying to do, is just every one of these steps towards formality, you're just covering your ass more, okay? Insurance, LLC, all that. You're covering your ass because if something can happen, it will happen, okay? Serious. Even if you live in a low-crime area, stuff can still get stolen. It's really easy to take a weed eater and flip it, It's not that hard. You can get a couple $100 out of it, and, some meth head, hey, oh, look, there's a steel weed eater there, like, and these go for big money, and they'll flip it on Marketplace for $150 cash. It's gone. Like, I promise it's gone. It's something that you can just stash in pretty much any vehicle. Like, it's easy to steal. It's not that big of a deal. So just do keep that in mind. The name of your company needs to be, it's pretty important. And that goes into like your logos, and which our next section is going to be merchandise. Okay, so by merchandise, it covers quite a few things, and it kind of goes into like branding in a way, right? So like shirts and hats, okay, when you show up to an estimate, you want to look clean, and if you got like a good shirt that has the name of your company, or a hat that's got the name of your company, right? The customer will see that. I promise you they will see that. When I'm going out and doing estimates, I see people all the time. They're always looking at the hat. They're looking at the logo on the hat. They're looking at, logo on a shirt. And I've even had customers comment, oh, I like your logo. I like the name of your company. All stuff like that. So, the name and the logo is going to be really important, and that goes into your shirts and hats. Okay, if you have some grandiose design for a logo that's super complicated and it's got a bunch of tiny little stuff in there, it is going to cost so much, and it'll probably look like crap if you ever get it put onto like a t-shirt or a hat. Okay, so simple sometimes is better. Okay, and the same goes with like a wrap or door magnets on a vehicle. A simpler logo that gets the point across that, hey, we're a lawn care company, and has some way of sticking into a customer or just a random person's brain that, hey, that company does lawn care. That's gonna be the most important thing. Okay, I'm all for grandiose designs, but at the same time, like when you get into it and you have this super incredible, crazy logo and you go, oh, this looks really good. Well, it's going to cost an extra $10 per t-shirt to have it put on, or an extra $15 to have it embroidered, right? And it's just not going to look good. So keep it simple. And honestly, for all of this, okay, use the KISS method, okay? And for those of you that don't know the KISS method, it's an acronym. It's keep it simple, stupid, okay? If you use that acronym in almost all parts of your life, it just makes everything so much better. KISS. Okay, keep it simple, stupid. Keep everything simple. The more complicated that you make something, the more of a headache that it can be. So if you keep it simple, it's less of a headache. It works out in the long run. So if you look at my logo, okay, it's an M and a C. It's not hard to get embroidered. This is embroidered, okay? Whole thing, and it's got the name of the company underneath it. Mo Convenient. Something that someone was telling me when I first started the company is look at all the big companies. All the big companies, you could get the name tattooed on the side of your finger, and it fits. Okay, so if you're gonna do a company name and you're gonna say, oh well, my name is so and so, so and so, so and so. Lawn care and landscaping and hardscaping and irrigation install and pesticide management. Whoa. Like, dude, chill out. Like, just name it, bro. Like, you don't need to include all of your services that you can do or will do in the name of your company. Okay, just keep it simple. All right. If you want to use the last name, by all means, again, it's your company. Do whatever you want. For me, this works, okay? Branding is easy, getting all my merchandise is easy, like, if I want a sticker, like, that'll fit on a sticker pretty nice, and I gotta stick it onto stuff, stick it onto my mower, stick it onto my trimmers, whatever, okay? Does not matter, but it's easy, it's simple, okay? So again, all that's really important. Logos, also when you're first getting started, there's going to be guys out there, oh, I'll make your logo for $100, blah, 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 like, oh, I'll make all this. Okay. Or you can spend a day working on a logo and use like Canva. That's what I've used. I've used Canva plenty of times. I've made my own logos. It's like, just do something like that, okay? Like Canva's free. They got a premium if you want like special images or anything like that. Like this costed me $0 to do. Okay. So also when you do your logos, if you do get a logo, make sure you get a transparent background. At least one of them that's got a transparent background. Because then you can take, and it's literally just the logo and any words or anything like that. And you can put those in your pictures like a watermark. Okay. So if you ever have any pictures, like before and after pictures, you can take that transparent picture and stick it right on there, right? And that's going to be a transparent background. So do keep that in mind for future notice. Then we got reviews. Reviews are going to be really important. I found Facebook reviews don't matter as much as the Google reviews do. Google reviews will make your business rank higher in the SEO side of things, which is search engine optimization. Now, look, there's an entire rabbit hole with SEO. There's an entire rabbit hole with, getting your website set up and all that. And that could be a video for another time. But one of the things that I will say is, like, focus on getting your reviews, okay? Now, technically, you're not supposed to sit here and say, hey, I'll do your lawn care, I'll give you a discount if you leave a review. I would stay away from that kind of stuff because then it's kind of inorganic. Would it work? Technically, yes, it would work, but I would stay away from it. I usually like to get customers right after we've done the work, and, some customers will just be happy that you've done the work, and then some of them will be ecstatic that you've done the work. The ones that are ecstatic are going to leave they're going to leave the very detailed, very passionate reviews. And when you could get those, those reviews are forever. So do keep that in mind. Make sure you're getting your reviews, because if you're anything like me, before you decide on something, you're going to look at the reviews, you're going to read them through. And if it seems like a bunch of like bot reviews, like you just got a bunch of 5 stars and different random accounts and there's no words or anything like that, it's kind of suspicious. Also, if you don't have any like lower reviews, that's kind of suspicious too. Like if I see a company that's only got 5 stars, I'm like, it seems like you've paid. Like it seems like you've paid for some of these reviews. And so, like, because sometimes like I had one customer that I did work for, and they were again one of my nightmare clients, and man, it was like nothing I could do would satisfy them. Like I did so much work for free. Like I lost my ass. I was paying to do work for them. And I absolutely lost my ass on it. They left me a nasty, nasty review. And so, it's just one of those deals. But I've worked with so many other people. I've gotten so many other good, 5-star reviews that, people see that 1-star review and they know, hey, look, that happened a while ago, but at the same time, it was, he does all this other good work. Right, and there's pictures, there's like actual people out there that's talked about it. So don't be, obviously try to make it right if there's a lower review that you get, but at the end of the day, it's not like the end of your business if you get a bad review. Obviously you don't want it. Okay, no one wants it, but it's not going to be the end of the company. It's not going to be the end of your career if you get one person that's like, well, I just didn't like the way that they did things. Sorry. Sorry. Reach out to them and say, hey, is there anything we could do to try and make this better for you, to try and get that review maybe changed? That's like the best thing that you could do, really. That is about the best thing you could do. So, but reviews are going to be important. Also, when you're first starting off, stay away from Yelp, stay away from Angie's List. Like, they're going to call you and bug you, and good God almighty. Like, they will absolutely take your money. If you let them in too close, they will rob you blind, and they do not care. Okay? So, one piece of advice, just stay away from those companies. Okay? Stay away from anyone that's like, oh, we'll get you a lead for $25. Don't. Just don't do it, because they will run that up, and you will maybe get 1 or 2 leads off of it, and they probably won't amount to anything. Okay? Just build a good website, build a good social media presence. Just do that. Anyways, now we're on to our last thing. Thank God, right? 53 minutes already. Wow. Okay, so we're on to our last little section, at least of everything that I could think of, and that's going to be your CRM. Okay, that's customer relations management, I think. It works for me. Anyways, so a CRM is going to be really important. If you've been thinking about starting a lawn care business or anything, or even just a service business, you've probably gotten ads about CRMs, and you've probably never drew or connected the dots. But Yardbook is a really good CRM, and it's free. Okay, now it's browser based, so you're gonna have to make sure you have internet connection at all times. You're gonna have to be able to get on, Google or Safari or whatever to be able to access your Yardbook. But it works really well. You could put all your customers in there. You can do all your invoicing through there. And I believe it uses Stripe as a credit card processor. Okay. Which Stripe is going to be like pretty much the big one. That's what most of these CRMs are going to use. So they will charge you money for, using it. Now, Yardbook has this really cool thing where you can actually, you could flip the credit card fee that Stripe would charge you onto the customer. And so you just tell them up front, hey, look, there's like a 3% fee for using a credit card. And then if they decide they want to use a credit card, they pay the extra 3%. And it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. But if you're going to sit there and, take the hit for this 3%, Think about what's 3% of $10,000. That's it adds up over time. It really does. And so do keep that in mind. That 3% can also add up if you have a big ticket job. And if your profit margins aren't right or something like that could take a decent amount of the money that, should be yours. So do keep that in mind. Yardbook works great. There's not a whole lot of like automations and stuff through Yardbook, and there's not like an app, right? There's not like an app that you can keep on your phone and simplifies it. And there's an important distinction between a CRM and a credit card processor. Okay, so like Square, everyone's seen the little Square readers. You plug them into your phone, and you can take a credit card through that. So Square, they do have some native like invoicing options, but again, they're not a CRM. Okay, they're a payment processor, is what they are. Then there's like Jobber. So I used Square when I first got started, and then I learned that's not really what I needed. And I started using Yardbook, and so I used Yardbook for years. And just recently, actually, I switched over to Jobber. Jobber has a lot of the automation, and a lot of the stuff that I found is needed for me. Okay, so it's not going to be perfect for everyone, but for me, it takes care of a lot of the automation. It takes care of a lot of the tracking. It takes care of a lot of that stuff that you would normally be missing from like Yardbook or Square or anything else. So I do enjoy it. They also use Stripe as a payment processor, but everything is so much more streamlined. And so me personally, I enjoy it. I use it. But again, do your own research, figure out what works for you, what would work for you, and go from there. And then last but not least is QuickBooks. Okay. So QuickBooks, they are more of a bookkeeping company. So can you send invoices and can you accept credit cards and stuff like that through QuickBooks? Yes, you can. Okay. But they're more of a bookkeeping software, if anything. Okay. So it's really good for taking pictures of receipts and categorizing the different expenses and stuff like that. It works really well for that. Highly recommend. But as invoicing and as a CRM, where it'll track estimates, and it tracks your like all these different specific data points that'll tell you actually how good your business is doing. It's hit or miss. Okay, so how I prefer to do things is I actually use Jobber and QuickBooks, and they integrate with each other. So any receipts or expenses that I have can automatically be kind of categorized by QuickBooks, and Jobber handles all the front end stuff between me and the customer and payments, and also scheduling and stuff like that. Jobber works really well for that. And then QuickBooks is kind of like it's almost like having like an in-house accountant, kind of. But one thing I will tell you is QuickBooks makes tax time so much simpler. Okay, because it's been doing the hard work throughout the year. So at the end of the year, you're not taking your receipt box into a tax guy, or if you do your own taxes, you're not taking that receipt box and, okay, let me go through here and, mark down all these receipts and what they were and when they were and what kind of expenses they were, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So when it comes time to do your taxes and you got your write-offs and everything, having QuickBooks and using that throughout the year is going to be money. Like it's so worth it. So, anyways, this should be a pretty good little tidbit of information for anyone that wants to start a lawn care business. If that's the route that you want to go, just do keep in mind it's more than just mowing. You have the entire business side of things, and there's stuff that I guarantee I've missed. So if anyone has any questions, if I can't answer it, I will point you to someone that can. But again, I've been formally in business for 5 years. So I'm not a rookie, but I'm also not a veteran. There's still stuff that I run into all the time that I just don't know the answer to, and I got to do research. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to ask. Go ahead and ask away. I will be making more of these videos, and I'll even make some videos with going through and actually doing some of the services, kind of like teaching people how to do this. So I'll probably make like a playlist on the channel where people can go, hey, like this is how you run a trimmer. This is how you run a mower. This is how you maintain the mowers. This is things to look for when buying a trailer, stuff like that. I'm going to stay out of the legal side of it. Again, this is going to be something that you need to explore because it changes state to state. And same with the insurance and stuff like that. Like it's different depending on where you're at. Some places will have different requirements. And then also I'll go into on a different video the difference between like residential work and commercial work and just the stuff that I've experienced and the kind of work that I've done. There's a huge difference between those two. There's a big distinction. So, and then also I can go into spraying, like chemical treatments, plowing, like pushing snow, throwing salt, stuff like that. And then also the landscaping, I will also go in. A lot of this information does also apply to landscaping. A lot of this is really good information for both of those because Mow Convenient is a lawn and landscape company. So we do both of those types of services. And so that's going to be one of the really important things that you just need to get dialed in straight from the rip. Like I said, focus on the lawn care, focus on getting that reoccurring work. You're going to be working with a lot of different people, which means that you have more people that can leave more reviews, more people that can talk to other people and say, hey, look, they did a really great job, blah, blah, blah. And then you also have that money that's always coming in every single week, boom, 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 boom. Like you're just getting paid, okay? You just go out and do the work, you're getting paid. And then you can start popping in some landscaping work in the middle of all that. That's going to be the best way to go. So anyways, if you guys like the video, do the little like thingy. And then if you guys want to like stay in touch and see when new videos come out, hit the subscribe thingy or follow or whatever it is. Anyways, do that and you'll see every time I post another video, and you guys can learn more and be smart and learn from my mistakes, because Lord knows I've made plenty. So again, if you guys like the video, do all the magic stuff down there underneath me. It's like one of these areas down through there. And there will be a lot of other stuff I talk about. And if you guys have any questions or things that you want me to go over, if enough of you have that question, then I'll make a video about it. Who knows? Maybe I can answer your question for you. So anyways, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for chilling and dealing with this hour-long video. It's pretty crazy. But anyways, see you next time.